How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about Ubisoft and its implications towards Microsoft. This deal that is pretty much going to happen, in my opinion. And if you've been following me on my streams and in my videos, I've been saying that this is going to happen. This has always been the end goal, and it does look like I was right yet again. But it really is quite amusing how all this came about, and it really is how can I put this, funny how the Guillemot family and Tencent have basically used people like Grums and the community, and basically with their help made something that probably seemed not possible become possible. Now, the best thing I can liken this to is the whole Nigel Farage analogy, because Nigel Farage saw that Brexit was not going to happen. Now, this is a bit political, but there's a whole thing to this. So imagine Nigel Farage as Guillemot and Tencent. Now, he saw a bus that said 300 million to the NHS. And so he went and started standing in front of it, kind of cheering them on, but never actually technically promoting it. And so when the public in the UK actually saw this without questioning, yes, quite naive and stupid of them, at least I didn't vote for it, so I can say I wasn't one of them. They turned around and said, yes, we want that 300 million for the NHS. And so they voted for Brexit. And then when it happened, it turned out, the NHS wasn't going to even get 20 million from that 300 million. Barely nothing. And then when questioned, he turned around and said, well, we didn't tell them to do that. We just saw it was getting popularity. So Nigel Farage said, I just stood there and rode off the winds. So technically, what Ubisoft here as well, the Guillemot family and Tencent have done here, has seen that the public have been really hammering down Ubisoft and really going after them. And so instead of trying to course correct or do something to fix it, why not ride this wave, ruin the share price from, I think it was like $70, $80 down to $2, so we can just buy it out. And then there'll be no problems. And so out of all of this, it does look like the community, whoever you want to call it, Grums, Pirate Nation, the works, were actually used in a bigger grand scheme. And despite the fact I don't want to say I told you so, I told you so! Anyway, but, it does look like a couple of people aren't happy with this, so let's get on with the actual stuff, and we can talk about it a bit more, and what this means on the grand scheme, when it comes to Microsoft, to the gaming industry, because there are going to be factors for the gaming industry. I just don't see them being that big of a deal for Xbox, unless, well, let's get into it. So first of all, we have to start here with the Vice President of Rainbow Six, Cameron Lee, having left Ubisoft. Clearly there's been some issues here. He's not happy, maybe not happy with the fact that it's being purchased and becoming an independent, it's, a limited company as opposed to a public limited company. Whatever the reasons, he's clearly not happy with the direction Ubisoft has been going, and he's decided to leave. So when you start seeing people in high positions leave, it's generally a worrying sign, right? But then obviously you have this. Ubisoft may go private so that it can better control its games business, but Tencent, who purchased 49.9% of Ubisoft's largest stakeholder, cannot force a hostile takeover. Now, why is this? So if we go into the article real quick, there's a little bit that covers this, and if we go down here, but Ubisoft's largest stakeholder is currently mulling over how to best respond to these issues. Sources tell Bloomberg that one such plan could be to take up Ubisoft private. The French game maker has one principal majority shareholder, Guillemot Bros Limited, a company run by the Guillemot family, including current Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot. In 2022, Tencent purchased a 49.9% stake, which means that, the Guillemot family own a 51.1% stake. In the Guillemot Bros for 300 million, Tencent also purchased a 9.9% Ubisoft stock at the time. The Guillemot family still has majority in Guillemot Bros Limited, and as per the agreement, Tencent cannot A, increase its stake in Ubisoft until 2030. So the fact that they've got 49.9% of the shares means that they physically can't buy any more. They can buy shares, but they can't increase their stake in it, right? So regardless, it will stay at 49.9%. And B, they cannot sell their stock until 2027. Now, considering how things are going, Tencent is in a really, really bad position right now. The amount of money they paid for this, and they are now trapped in whatever is going to happen for another 3 years. This is a really horrible spot for Tencent. Whether people like them or not, probably not, but at the end of the day, imagine seeing the shares crashing down, but you can't sell your Ubisoft stock for another 3 years. At the moment, the Guillemot Bros Limited has all the control. As such, Tencent cannot force a hostile takeover over Ubisoft. So that's where they're currently stuck right now, right? Now we're seeing over here as well from Shinobi, Tencent and Guillemot family are considering a buy of Ubisoft. This was all the master plan that was supposed to happen. Hoglaw over here, they tried to tag him in. Pretty much gave a no answer response. So, do you remember if there was any clause if anyone buys Ubisoft, the deal with Microsoft ends with cloud? Now, from what I remember, and I tried to look this up and I couldn't find anything, but when the deal was actually done, Ubisoft, the subsidiary segment that was dealing with the Microsoft deal was independent. And I remember at the time that if anyone tried to buy Ubisoft or, Microsoft or Sony, that aspect of Ubisoft would always remain independent and pretty much divested in itself and run it on its own. No one could interfere with them, regardless of buyout. So I assume that will probably stay the same. Hoag's response was, if there were, it would likely require a change of control, which may or may not happen in a buyout depending on the definitions, which is pretty much a non-answer. Now over here we have the Culture Crave, Tencent and Guillemot family are reportedly looking at buying out Ubisoft. Multiple games have underperformed in sales this year. They have, even though they've actually had some good games. Mirage was good, Lost Crown was good, Prince of Persia, and I'm really enjoying Outlaws. So they've had some good games, but people just don't want that whole, I don't know, they just wanted to take down Ubisoft. Company has lost more than half its market value this year, and this is where it becomes, this is a 3-year-old image, but this is where it becomes a little more, an issue, right? Because you see all of these Ubisoft companies, and that's a lot. And then you got Tencent down here. I know Embracer Group this is 3 years old, so they've lost a lot of these, and a lot of them have been sold, shut down. But Tencent essentially stands to become the largest gaming company in the world. And that is something we probably do not want. Now, if you're looking at Microsoft and Sony, they're pretty much a small fish in this. Take-Two is almost at the same size as Microsoft. You got EA. There's a lot of companies here. But it will turn around and basically be that Tencent will have a considerable control over everything that happens. Ubisoft is a big company. They've got some big IPs. And the fear here is that Tencent is going to destroy them. Because if they don't make money, Tencent will close these studios down without even blinking an eye. But what does this mean for Microsoft? Well, outside of the fact that I don't believe the cloud situation will be impacted at all, their agreement with the Ubisoft being, Ubisoft Plus being on Game Pass could possibly break because they'll probably want more money, especially with the way things have turned out. But this is a very interesting situation right now. A lot of people are looking at this and saying, well, where's the regulators acting upon this? Why aren't the FTC, the CMA, the European regulators, why aren't they all jumping in and saying this cannot happen? Well, number one, an offer hasn't been put on the table. So that's part one of the reasons. But secondly, Microsoft and Sony are a platform holder. So when they go and make a big purchase as a platform holder, those games generally are supposed to be exclusive to the platform. In the case of Microsoft, the FTC and the CMA have made it their lifelong ambition to make sure that they take down any form of approach or chance Microsoft has of being a front-leading contender in the gaming industry. The CMA and the FTC have pretty much crippled Microsoft, and unfortunately, as you have seen over the last few years, Microsoft has had to steer into a new direction and essentially kind of still maintain the Xbox brand and keep the image going. But in terms of competition, there really isn't anymore. Now that they've started putting their games, especially their first-party games like Indiana Jones and stuff, onto other platforms, it's a no-brainer. And now we're seeing, with the rise of Diablo 4, the PS5 Pro is going to be the best console to play on. The developers from Diablo have come out and said, yes, we will be fully utilizing the PS5 Pro and its features, and Xbox at that point will become the worst place to play Diablo 4, and that's a sad turn of events. And when you see Indiana Jones, it's going to look better on the PS5 Pro. What will be interesting is if Call of Duty looks better on the PS5 Pro, because that technically would be breaking parity. Although the parity was that they can't make the game look worse, not look better. So will Microsoft actually make it run better on Sony's PS5 Pro? Who knows? But the CMA and the FTC have pretty much handicapped Microsoft to the point where they now have to change direction because they can't compete. They literally cannot. They've got all these studios, but the moment they try to compete, the FTC and the CMA will intervene because they are a platform holder. Now, with Tencent and Ubisoft, will the FTC, CMA, and the other regulators actually chime in the same way? And I just don't believe they will, because they are not a platform holder. Their games will be multi-plat. And because their games, on face value at the very least, will be multi-plat, there's no danger to competition. So in that regard, I don't see there being much of a issue with the CMA. I don't even think they'll even object to it. Now, the only thing that comes into question here is, of course, the cloud rights. The ones that Microsoft have, given away to the Ubisoft via the CMA. And well, the CMA has in fact, completely and utterly ruined Microsoft in that regard. At the end of the day, Microsoft has taken their foot off the pedal. They don't care about the cloud market as much as they used to anymore, and they've moved kind of succinctly away from it. They're still kind of pushing it because they know that cloud gaming is the future, but they've kind of taken the foot off the pedal because they don't have to try anymore. The CMA's clipped their wings and basically said, you're not flying this, and we are going to impede you at every turn. So until this deal with Ubisoft ends, Microsoft has made it kind of abundantly clear that though they're going to follow it, they're not going to really deal with it. But will the deal go over to Tencent, and will Tencent get controlling rights? I just don't see that happening. Not under the current ruling that I remember that took place. Now, obviously, I don't have the legal documents in front of me. I did go searching. I just don't have them. But to me, the whole ABK cloud rights will either be completely demolished because now it's a change of ownership, and that being transferred will kind of validate that contract because it's no longer the contract that was set in stone. If it is set in stone, then Tencent will have to adhere to those regulations and maintain the same level of quality, and if they fail to do that, the contract will be void. Or the subsidiary aspect of Ubisoft that kind of looks after these will retain independence away from Tencent and everyone else and act independently, solely, have their own P&L and produce what they need to do. Ultimately, this is it. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people going around on social media saying that, this is going to have huge implications and this and that and what is going to happen and all of that. And, people are running riot at the moment. The bottom line is, this was always the plan. I said this multiple times in my streams, in videos. The plan was to sell Ubisoft. And thanks to the community, the gamers who made this happen, it's now becoming a reality. Now, for those people that are now upset about Tencent buying Ubisoft, Tencent and the Guillemot family coming together to buy Ubisoft, just know that you made this happen. And you should be proud, because you've shown that, A, on one side, your voices can be heard and you can ruin companies, or B, your voices can be heard and taken advantage of by people who are a lot smarter than you and taken down a path you didn't want to go without you even knowing. Now, I'm not blaming the gamers totally for this, because I know there's a lot of issues going on with the whole SBI, DEI, all of this stuff. I'm not even going to get involved with it, because I think the majority of it is rubbish, right? I think the majority of this whole thing is crap. I don't really care for it. And I've discussed about it a lot in my stream. And if you want to discuss it more, feel free to turn up on Tuesday where we can discuss it some more. But the bottom line is, this was the big agenda. Now, I've been telling people that there is something else here. They want to sell Ubisoft, and this is why they're going down this route. This is why they're not retaliating. This is why they're not course correcting. Now, obviously, they don't want Ubisoft to disappear, which is why they've delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows. But no company out there in their right mind is going to make so many stupid concessions and not react to fix them. No one will do that if they value the company. The only people that will do that are those that want to sell the company or buy the company on a cheap. Now, whether this is illegal or legal, I don't know. That's way above my pay grade. But one thing I can say is that this was always on the cards. Will it have a big implication on Microsoft? Personally, I don't think so. I don't think it'll have anything. It'll be very remote. The best outcome from this will that the CMA's ruling will become nullified and void, and all cloud rights will go back to Microsoft. Does that mean Microsoft is going to take their games off GeForce Now? No. Boosteroid? No. Net Software? No. Are they going to take it off anything? No. Are they going to course correct? No. Are they going to do anything? No. So, ultimately, it won't make the slightest bit of difference for Microsoft. So, we'll see how this turns out. But I hate to say that I was right, because I was. And it's amusing how the gaming community, on this occasion at the very least, was so brilliantly used that they don't even realize it. And they still think they've won. But do you think Tencent gaining limited control over the company with a 49.9% share is winning? Just wait till you see the amount of focus that's going to go into mobile gaming and how they're going to push all these IPs first to mobile before you even see a console port. That's where this is heading. That's the biggest implication of this. Those Splinter Cells and the Divisions and, Raymans and all of this, they are going to become mobile games. Because that's what Tencent specializes in. That is their forte. Sure, they do PC ports and PC games, but that's their forte. That's where they make the billions, not the millions. And as far as Tencent are concerned, all they care about is the billions. Anyway, folks, that's the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release, and I'll see you in the next one. But yeah, it's a shame what's happening with Ubisoft, but it is what it is. Take it easy, folks. Peace.